Welcome back to the First Strike North America Closed Qualifiers, brought to you by Nerd Street Gamers. It is the quarter-finals, and we're one map down in the match between Cloud9 Blue and Renegades. With me are your casters, Dust and On Fire Vince. Guys, what an absolutely fantastic start for Renegades. What did you make of their performance, Dust?
Man, again, we were talking about it when we had you on before the match started, that Renegades has really been working on this map and has had upsets on it in the past against Cloud9 and TSM. So we felt like, you know, with this also being their personal comfort map, their highest win rate map, that this could be their opportunity to make some noise in this series. And boy, did they. It took them a little longer than they probably hoped for to finish it off. But I mean, Winsome was impressive on the Rays. Tactically speaking, they look really sound. And I mean, just moment after moment, they were impressing me. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, kind of hard to break that all down. It's a lot of rounds, but I mean, man, I'm so excited to see this team continue to play.
Yeah, me too, Vince. Now, if we look at the bracket, on paper, I think it's fair to say that C9 probably have an easier task to make it to that top 4 and also get a good seeding, because they don't have to play Sentinels, they don't have to play T1, they don't have to play TSM, and they don't have to play 100 Thieves, not until the finals at least. So with that in mind, do we see a world where they don't actually make it to that top 4 today?
I think there very well could be. Honestly, I mean, when you look at Renegades and how well they played, and also how often they were behind as well, that's the really impressive thing to me. It's one thing if they just kicked this map off and they just blitzed through, you know, they got the economy breaks and they just constantly kept Cloud9 Blue in this really awkward position. They were trailing 4-1 at one point. They had multiple map points that they had to save, and they stood their ground and they delivered. And that, I think, it puts it into a really interesting position for Ascent coming up next. We talk statistically about how this should favor Cloud9. I think you can definitely dust some of that off after what we've just seen. I think in terms of performances, Renegades come into this map with a lot of confidence, and Cloud9, I'm not going to say that they're struggling, but TenZ didn't have the performance that maybe we expected. He was, I think, like 4th in terms of kills. It was basically the rest of his team that were doing the heavy lifting, with him dipping in now and again. He didn't have anywhere near the level of impact that we expected.
I mean, looking at the way they've been performing on Ascent, they have lost a couple of maps quite recently, but I mean, that's not really a massive indicator, because they've predominantly played against teams of higher caliber. Now, Dust, do you think that this would be Renegades' chance to sort of snatch that 2-0, or are we celebrating a little bit too early for them?
If I had to guess, we're going to go to a third map. You know, when you look at a map like Ascent, this is a map that in the past Renegades have really struggled on. Some of their lowest attack win rates have come on this map, and just overall, they don't have the best win percentage on the map. Granted, they've made a lot of improvements, like we saw there on Split, but I'm not sure how much that'll carry over onto Ascent. We haven't seen them play it enough yet recently. Whereas when you look at Cloud9, their track record on Ascent is incredible. You know, it's probably their best map on defense and attack, and they have just a massive win rate on the map, and they've had a lot of games played on it as well. So the sample size is quite large, and on average, they are very impressive. So I do think that a third map is very likely here, just kind of based on the track records.
Well, we are about to head into Ascent, and as you said, Vince, I think TenZ would need to step on, and so do the rest of the team. But Renegade could potentially become the first team to qualify for that First Strike main event in December. Let's find out now.
They're one map away, Dustin. How many people coming into this would have expected that we'd be in this position? Certainly not I. And yet, that is the situation that we find ourselves in. Albeit on Ascent, as we just discussed there, statistically, definitely favors Cloud9. But was there any surprise to you about how, you know, TenZ was further down the leaderboard? I mean, it's not necessarily a case that the rest of Cloud9 are poor players by any stretch of the imagination, but you said yourself, when it comes to, like, carriers in NA, he's up there with probably the best of them.
I mean, everyone's going to have an off game sometime, no matter how good you are. And I think that, again, him playing Reyna is something he's just begun to phase in a lot. You know, he's definitely been known for his agent flexibility compared to maybe some other duelists, although a lot of them can kind of flex between, like Phoenix and Raze, for example. And, you know, there's definitely some people who do, but he's not like a pure jet main like some jet mains are, right? Like Reyna is something he's trying to come in, and maybe he just wasn't feeling it with I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. I do think a lot of it more comes down to how well Renegades played than TenZ necessarily not playing up to standard. I mean, certainly he didn't frag as hard as he can at times, but I don't think that I want to, you know, fault Cloud9 as much as I want to praise Renegades in that situation.
I think it's fair. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's two sides to every story, and Renegades played phenomenally. As I said before, the resilience and the tenacity that they showed to battle back multiple times at big deficits. They trailed 7-5 at half-time. They had a very rough start in the second half. They held on, and I think they like saved something like 5 or 6 map points. Like, it was absolutely absurd. So now we move into Ascent. In terms of agent picks, is there anything that will be catching your eye that you expect to see coming into this on Ascent?
I mean, you should see the same kind of comp that you saw from Cloud9 on Split here. The only difference would be that Tins will be on Jet. I mean, everybody else should be playing roughly the same agent that they were playing before, unless they decide to change something up. Whereas, you know, over on the Renegade side of things, I mean, again, you're not going to see, like, too crazy of a difference. This is where CP2 will probably pull out Sova instead of playing Breach, as that is an agent he's been maining quite a lot lately. You also might see Randy back on the Cypher instead of Killjoy. Then that is the other change that you would likely see. And indeed, that's going to be the case. So Randy will be on the Cypher. CP2 will be on the Sova. Everyone else is the same. And then for Cloud9, yeah, this is the comp they normally use on this map. So no real curveballs in that regard.
Well, here we go. Cloud9 on the attack, with this being their choice of map. And they're very much living up to that mantle, getting straight away some aggression from Mitch, who's peeking with the turret. No one is going to protrude around the corner, though, so it's a bit of a stalemate as they look to back away. But they're actually just playing one defender here, Renegades, on the A side. So they are certainly banking pretty heavily on this being a retake.
Yeah, I didn't miss something, actually. This is a map that I was seeing Reyna be played a lot by when somebody's sticking with the Raze after performance on Split. So that is one little difference, I suppose. We are going to see Winsome looking to take some point here through the smoke at the door. He won't get the frag, will support Bergie in doing so, and they will take the man advantage. They are holding up this cat push really well at the boom bot, and boom! Winsome uses it to his advantage there, but now we see Cloud9 able to fight back, get the spike down, and have the 3-on-3 post play.
Having to deal with it, though, on very low HP. Cloud9 hemorrhaging on a few players. Shinobi using the dark cover, hiding in the cubby. It's Tens that's down to 21. Phenomenal player. Aftershock will not be affecting him at all, but he will get caught in the crossfire of CP2, making moves from upper, now looking downstairs, and getting the headshot with Randy Savage's Frenzy. Coming good for the last. They stick it together, and Renegades will get the successful defuse on top of it. First blood again goes their way.
Yeah, I'm curious if this time Cloud9 will be more conservative. Last map, whenever they got the spike plant, they went for a little bit of a buy with the Bulldog onto Tins and actually put some investment into the round. Kind of curious if this time they'll sit back and take the full save and concede this round, and we are going to see only upgraded pistols come out, it seems. So it does seem like that is indeed going to be the more, I guess, standard approach. As the Spectres will come out in full force for Renegades. They will be having their Cypher and two others looking to take some B lobby control early here. Once I'm using that boom bot, that's going to be an A focus from Cloud9.
So pushing with his bomb buddy, and that's why. Anticipating at any close angle, they'll be forced to focus fire on the boom bot, allowing him to get the even trade. And now Cloud9, a player behind, trying to use their sheriffs. Cloudburst put in, using the dark cover to get up close. Will Tens, and it should yield another spike plant, so at very least it keeps them ticking forward economically speaking. Whether they'll be able to hold on to the site is an entirely different matter altogether. Positions for Cloud9 pretty decent, but as soon as these dark covers do start to fade, we're expecting to see the jaws clamp down, and they do so with style. Winsome doubles up with his paint shell, allows him to replenish it instantly, throws another one in towards main, and there's not really any hope for Cloud9. They have to back away, pull the plug. They will concede 2 in a row, but it is 2 spike plants in a row.
Yeah, and with not much investment behind it from Cloud9 to do so. So they are going to be sitting pretty when it comes to cash coming into this round. They'll be able to buy everything that they could hope for. Here, see how they'll open. Again, they usually like to just have their Killjoy play outside A while Raze plays outside B, and then they just look to take mid control. That seems to be their default. But they also tend to lean a little bit towards one side early, and then kind of maybe fall back to mid control. They like to fight for orbs early if they can. I think they particularly like to fight for the A lobby orb because it's a little bit easier to get. But it looks like they are just going to open up like pretty pure default as I kind of described. They're not really pressuring the A orb too hard just yet. kind of just getting that smoke out at top middle and just kind of working up catwalk. They do still have the breach though helping out Mitch, so they could be looking to peek here soon. The turret will be placed to hold the archway.
Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out.
Making sure that no one's in the cubby. Now know that that's the case. They can feel a bit more safe and assured that Cloud9 can push in towards main without too many issues and obstacles. The spike still dropped towards the spawn side, though. So a bit of a declaration as TenZ takes some aggression towards Pizza and Market.
Yep. More required there from Mitch by use of the turret and the A lobby control they were able to gain pretty early on. Rest were able to push up mid towards Marco. They didn't stick to it. They actually faded back. They will look to burst onto B. Very likely we will see Omen smokes at spawn and market, and then the jet dash, raise blast pack, breach flashes, allowing them to pounce onto the B side. They could even, sometimes this Cloud9 team will throw a deeper market smoke more towards middle so they can actually get into market themselves. But other than that, what you're going to see is a pretty standard explosive attack on B.
Explosive attack is propagated by a flashpoint, but Randy Savage with the Spectre holds his nerve. Add some backup. Randy Savage apparently doesn't need any backup. He's the one-man wrecking crew. It's a 4K, and Winsome cleans up the rest. And that, ladies and gents, was a bonus round. Renegades do it in style.
That is a big victory. They clamped down on that side so well, never allowing Cloud9 to break through. It was the standard utility set, but no one really got any entries. Relics unable to find a frag at this game. Same for Mitch. Obviously, it's very early on, so I don't want to harp on that too much, but that's a big round for them where they had the firepower advantage. As you said, it was a bonus for Renegades still holding on to the Spectres. And that's where you think you should be able to kind of mow them over, or at least have some type of superiority, but absolutely trounced was Cloud9 there. And now they will have to take the save, and Renegades will be able to look to go up the 4-0, but TenZ will have the Blade Storm, so they'll give them something to work with here as they look again to burst on the B.
Straight up.
Oh, man.
In the tripwire, that is so unfortunate. He's going to be furious at that outcome. CP2, though, is going to go down to Relic's Frenzy, who doubles up. Some aggression from Jet, who tailwinds out of there. Now some weapons have been picked up and used against Cloud9, but Winsome, with a beautiful pink shell, puts it back into a 2-on-2. Relics has tripled up, though, with his Phantom, and now it's looking good for Cloud9. They need Bergie, who landed some big clutches and some huge moments over on Split to strike again. And he's getting up close. He's going to fend off one of these angles, but can't transition. And now it's Relic's turn to land a 4K. This game just setting alight again.
Yeah, that was almost a blunder for Cloud9, though. I mean, yeah, it was an eco, so they weren't expected to win anyway, but it really hurt that TenZ used the dash and then got caught with a trap wire. Usually you're going to be dashing through the wire, but the way it was placed, he didn't actually encounter it until after he had already dashed, so he got absolutely busted on the Blade Storm. It looked like that was going to be the end there, and it was going to be Renegades going up 4-0, but Relics able to find a way to find some big kills in the side. I think he wound up having either a hat trick or a quad kill that round. Either way, huge impact there from him on Raze to get one across the finish line for Cloud9. TenZ, that's a big opening kill, but at least Retro's quick to respond. Randy Savage comes in as a reinforcement, and they have won the Battle of B Lobby. You can often see little information battles going on here, and this time Renegades come out victorious, and they get a huge edge, a 4-on-3, and the Neural Theft will give them intel. Big kill, though, from Relics. Keeps it back to even, but he's low on health.
Pot off the back of a 4K, just insta drills the head off. Does take a headshot himself, so he's down exceptionally low, but a 3-on-3 retake hasn't quite came into play just yet. And with this being stalled out, have a quick look. There are flanks coming in. Jet is getting around the back of Renegades. This is going to be a difficult one to hold on to, especially with low HP in the mix. Boombot tossed out. Blade Storm also comes into fruition. Retro wants to get up close. Spotting onto Mitch, takes him down. Tailwind up, getting tagged out from the turret. Allows them to know exactly where he is and also slows him down a little bit more. But now the Cloudburst has been tossed to the back of the slide. It will funnel these two defenders now of Cloud9 together. But they clump up and Vice comes out with a vengeance, with authority, with headshots. There's another one, but Bergie suppresses him. And Renegades, another successful defuse, another successful retake. It's a great cost to their economy, though.
This fight is diffused.
What a great round there from Renegades. I thought with Cloud9 getting the 3-on-3 post plan at A, they'd have a good shot at closing it, but great use of the ult there from Retro. Picking up one. They're also able to come in together off of this cloud burst and just kind of isolate some 2v1s inside the site, essentially. So they will immediately reset Cloud9, who will now again have to just go for most upgraded pistols. They will have the one Vandal on Relics. And so Renegades are building up a pretty big defensive lead here. And again, this is a map that Cloud9 are normally pretty good on the attacking side. I think it's their best attacking win rate of any map overall over the last few months. So this is a bold statement from Renegades here.
Ooh, the turret actually tanking a bunch of rounds allows Mitch to survive, but not for much longer. CP2 puts him down. And yeah, not only is it a 4-1 dust, but Cloud9's one round came off the back of a huge Relics 4K. These aren't the kind of plays that you can really rely on time in, time out. So the Renegades have been looking exceptional on their defense side.
They really are. Most of these retakes have been so on point. We are going to see Cloud9 looking to put some pressure on defensive spawn, and indeed they will even maybe look to backstab and try to pinch onto B, depending on what Relics can do with this Vandal, but it seems like they're aware that this is a possibility. Retro had the judge up close, and it has struck down a sentencing. Will now push over the Vandal to continue to put Cloud9 into the prison on the scoreboard here. Vice trying to fight back in the back halls, but to no avail. There will be no appeal. And I think I've done as many law-related puns as I could there.
It's all good. It's all good. Because Renegades, they'll come out ahead. They come out victorious. Right, and Cloud9, they didn't fully invest in that round, so they can pull back to some Vandals and Phantoms, but it's more the scoreline that's the problem now. I don't think they care about the economy. They just care about getting rounds, and they need them quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 are usually able to be very explosive on this site with some different types of bursts and split plays. Usually, you know, they're able to use Mitch's turret to kind of take angles and get mid-control and get up to tree and, like, pose a threat, like, really early on in a round, get some important map control. They haven't really been able to do that. They've been getting contested on both edges of the map, and they haven't been able to deal with it. And now look at this. Winsome pushes all the way up to top middle and finds a frag, and Tins can't even trade it back. Winsome, absolutely fantastic. They are getting absolutely demolished, Vince. This is unbelievable.
Taking them completely out of their comfort zone, and Cloud9 are dizzy. Spinning around time after time. Shinobi able to get one, also takes down the Boombot and has control over the spike. As far as 1vx's go, this is certainly a doable clutch. The dark cover to the side allows him to peek a little bit more, knowing he has time on his side. 50 seconds, but Bergie passes a bullet between his eyes. And that will be 6-1. And this goes back to what I was talking about before, Dust. When you're the underdog and some of that pressure is off, and you can be more free-flowing, you can take the fight to Cloud9. You can play hell with them, keep them uncomfortable, keep them on their tiptoes.
Think about it, like, right, what Retro had the big win inside a lobby one round. That round they push middle and win. So when Cloud9, they're normally able to get mid control pretty easily. They're normally able to get into these lobby areas and get that foundation underneath their feet and then launch into some type of explosive execute. You know, that's kind of what they pride themselves on. But Renegades are doing a good job unsettling them in these early round situations and not really letting them build up. You know, they're not really letting them get their abilities out and flowing. And also, they've kept Cloud9's economy absolutely in the bin. I think this is like, what, the third save that Cloud9's had to have this half?
Yeah, pretty top-heavy in terms of the spikes being planted. They got a bunch of spike plants at the start of the game, but in the last few rounds, it's been barren in that prospect, and not too many kills behind it either. Tens now going in aggressively, lockdown, put down, stuck in the cages. Tens and gets punished. Randy Savage with the headshot, who can now have tons of backup from the back halls. All of Renegade in close proximity, all are ready to fight. One player does get detained though, which will be Retro, but he's hiding in the cloudburst, keeping himself alive a little bit longer before Winsome perforates the wall, takes down Shinobi. Relic attacking again. He did start off that 4K with the frenzy. Their one lonely round that Cloud9 picked up, but a 3v3 post-plant momentarily as Vice gets it down. We'll see Bergie claim the first blood. Rolling Thunder out, only landing one of the three players and stunning them momentarily before Alex takes him out of the equation. And now he is the last man standing, but not for much longer. Randy Savage gives Renegades a 7-1 lead, and this is getting out of control.
It is. I mean, another spike plant comes in, but when you really sit down and think about it, two ults are used there by Cloud9, And what did they really gain? I mean, yeah, sure, I guess the Killjoy ultimately got them in the B site, and they did get Retro because of it. He was basically trapped in the corner. He was able to get his gun back out because he stalled long enough inside of his Cloud Burst, but still unable to get comfortable and get a frag. But that Rolling Thunder didn't shut down that retake at all. Like you said, only impacted one of the 3 players, and the other 2 able to come up short there and just blitz Cloud9. I mean, I haven't seen Cloud9 go down this rapidly on attack and ascent in some time. They are normally pretty money on this map. Again, it's their best map. One of the maps that Renegades have struggled on in the past. So this is huge, and Cloud9 are taking a tactical pause, and I don't blame them. Like, this is starting to get out of control. Think about what's on the line here. If you win this best of 3, you're in first strike. The later matches are about seeding, which is important, but what matters most is getting to the show. And this map could decide it for Renegades if they're able to continue on like this. For Cloud9, they were one of the favorites alongside teams like Sentinels and TSM and, you know, some of these other teams that you expect to be at first strike. Now, granted, it is worth noting that just because you've made the quarterfinals, you are guaranteed to be in the UMG tournament. So you're not out of the first strike running per se. But Cloud9 thought that they would be here now, you know, not Renegades. This would be the story of this tournament if Renegades are able to be one of the first teams to qualify for first strike. They have never really placed that well in a big event, and now they're on their way to perhaps the biggest of all.
That's what we were looking to see from TenZ, though. A brief glimpse of what this guy is capable of. First blood in this round, at least. Does go his and Cloud9's way. And maybe the magic of the tactical timeout will come into fruition. Mitch, up close. Thinking about peeking, decides better of it. That may be allowing Retro a bit of safe passage a little bit further. Again, just making sure the Cubby is dealt with, but Retro goes in for the wide swing and takes him down for his troubles, evening the score up in terms of manpower, and now Cloud9 have got to get a move on again.
Indeed, they do. Vice still able to catch Berg. That's going to be pretty big. Stopping that mid push there from Renegades allows them to have easier time getting into that B site. Alt will and further ensure it there from Shinobi. And so this looks like finally a chance for Cloud9 to have a good victory. They have man advantage. They have side control. They're all pretty healthy.
Spike planted.
This should be going their way. They cannot afford to drop this round.
Blade Storm being picked up on both players, but it's Retro in midair that takes the first one down. And it's TenZ that's on the receiving end. Back up again with the updrift. Winston comes in with 2. It's a showstopper in the paint shells. And Renegades 3v4 retake goes their way.
Oh my god, Vince. That was freaking sick what Retro just did. He literally just saw TenZ pull out the blade storm and said, nah, Chief, let me show you how to wield those daggers a little bit better. He absolutely crushed TenZ. That was just straight. Oh my god, that was so sick. I can't even put into words how awesome that was. What a statement. That's Cloud9 in a comfortable 4-on-3 post plant with Blade Storm available. And somehow Renegade still just busted that wide open. Tip your hat to Retro. That was such a nuts headshot dagger. Oh my god.
Everything preceding that play as well. 3v4. TenZ got first blood in the round after a tactical timeout, and Cloud9's back has been broken again, and they may not recover, but they're looking to do so with some aggression. They're looking to just shake it off. Mitch getting up close. TenZ gets another one. This is more like it. But can they finally convert? Surely this time in a 3v5, they should be favorite to do so. Additionally, Bergie's taking a lot of damage, so he has to be careful about going back in again and re-engaging. Looking for the wall bangs, nothing really forthcoming. And it looks like Cloud9 likely will double up.
Yeah, I mean, I remember last round I said they don't win this, then it's over. This one was even worse. Like, they had to close this one down, and they will. Great little pounce onto A, looking more themselves, asserting themselves on the site quickly and efficiently at that, only losing 1 in the process here. Retro still poking and prodding. Let's see if he can bring some weapons down and force some rebind out of Cloud9, who do have a low economy. And he will be able to dash in, and they actually dig all of them. It's only Mitch that will hold on to a rifle, and even he won't. He's been phased by the spike, and this is incredible from Renegades. Yes, Cloud9 won, but at such a huge cost. If they get reset here, I think Renegades get 10. Because there won't be any money left available for Cloud9 unless they can be efficient with the win here and get a spike plant and basically retain all the rifles that they buy here and now. Like, that's like kind of the battle was won by Cloud9, but the war might ultimately still be taking the Renegades based off the damage they did at the end.
Yeah, that war of attrition catching up. Cloud9 still struggling, but hell, if they can get this back to an 8-4, you couldn't fully write them off. But to get to 4 rounds is looking like a pretty big ask. Cloud9 do dark cover out middle. It forces back the aggression that was coming in from Renegades to kick things off. And now they can take mid control, Dust, and that gives them options. It gives them choices. They can try and push this one in slowly.
Big round here for Cloud9. They need to win this. They need to salvage something in this attacking half. This is one of their most successful attacking halves they have in their pool. And again, their economy is in tatters. CP2, though, he'll open up things with the operator there on his Sova. Gets the 5-on-4. Time is still plenty for Cloud9. Now they have some headway up towards Tree. Looks like they will once again claim the A site. It'll all be about whether or not they can hold off the retake. As this spike will start getting planted. Randy gets past the paint shell. Can he break this back open? Indeed he can.
Showstoppers being picked up, and Randy Savage takes off the head of Relics just before he pulls the trigger. An even trade 1-for-1, but will favor Renegades. Dark cover put down towards main, fending off and isolating, segregating the 2 remaining Cloud9 players. And Mitch feels compelled to go in aggressive before Winsome spins around and gets both of them. And yet again, we've been here before so many times, Dust. It's another post plant. It's another successful retake for Renegades.
And look at the repercussions. Not only does the score increase for Renegades and the gap widens, but Cloud9's wallets are well and truly empty. It's nothing but moss flying out the billfold now. Just some SMGs, 3 stingers. And yes, you can close distance with 10s with the tailwind. Maybe you get Relics blast packing in to get the Spectre up in someone's face, but they are well and truly being absolutely crushed. I mean, Renegades are playing beautiful Valorant right now. This is, again, a whole new look. If you're new to Valorant, Renegades have never looked this good. This is awesome. Just at the right time as well.
Rushed in, but they're being thwarted, they're being swatted away, collapsed on, clobbered. And suddenly, Relic's last man standing, 1-on-3. Nice shot onto Retro, can now trade up. And it would be an understatement to say that Cloud9 are desperate for this 1v3 clutch. They need this so badly. It gives them a foundation to build off. Full HP for Relics. Can poach up at the back of the cubby and wait for the oncoming Renegades players to get up close and personal. But he's against an Omen and a Cypher. This will not be easy at all. In goes the dark cover. A little bit too deep, though. Doesn't really affect Relics, who can stay in position and has a good idea from that trajectory where they're coming from. But Randy Savage, too quick on the trigger. Insta headshot. Renegades have double digits going through into the halftime.
Oh my goodness, Vince. It might just happen. This would be the biggest upset of the tournament. When you think about how Cloud9 has performed over the last few months, the first place in the Open Qualifier. They've taken 3rd at the last 3 events they played prior to this qualification process. They had a couple of 2nd place finishes at Pulse and PAX. They have been firmly at the top 3 of this scene for some time. And then meanwhile, on the other side, you've had Renegades who have often had group stage exits and even a couple of last place finishes in the mix.
Yes, this should do.
Really, their only big success was like a top 6 at Paul Series, and that was against lesser competition than what they're facing now. Yeah. But they have really come alive throughout this qualification process, and they are now just a few away from knocking Cloud9 to the UMG event and taking one of the first strike slots for themselves instead. What a story that would be. They still have a few more pages to write down before that book can be closed, but they are well on their way to finishing off the final draft of what would be an incredible story.
A fairy tale ending, perhaps, for Cloud9. Very capable of pulling this back. It's been the nature that they've lost that's been a worry, though, but Mitch is using that dark cover as a bit of sanctuary, and now he can show his hand with a frenzy, but too many of his teammates fell around him. Not enough to build off. Cloud9, 2v3 retake, Spike gets planted. 10's in with the first. They need CP2 to have some impact, and he's missed his shots. And now it's all on Bergie, 80 HP to his name. And a potential hero play forthcoming. or not. 10 gets a 4K, and CP2 will be looking at that round and thinking, what if? What if I land my first shot onto 10s? That could have been their round.
Indeed, it could have been. It was very close. It came down to a 1v2 with Breach and Jet very low on 10s and Vice from Cloud9. But they will now be able to breathe, not really a sigh of relief, but at least they can take in a little bit more air. They have been able to fend off the pistol, which would have almost surely sealed their fate if they lost that. If they would have lost that, Renegades go up to 11, Cloud9 has to make a choice on force buying or saving and likely losing, and then basically having no money for the rest of the half. But with that victory, they'll be able to buy up. We will see just pistols here from Renegades, some Frenzies, a Sheriff. Normally a team that likes to play a lot of just mid-control into tree control or into market threats, but this round they will open up a little bit heavier towards B lobby. Tens does get to wine position, however, and is not going to get found out at all. That's an easy one there for Tens.
One enemy remaining.
Sure. Indeed. Now they'll be able to get their full vibe going. And again, they're a team that likes to play their standard, map control with just our Cypher lurking out in B lobby. They sometimes have no one playing outside A, though. A lot of the times they will just have, like, a focus of 4 players mid. And again, they like to either come all the way up mid and put that threat on market and spawn, or really just focus on taking control of that tree area and setting up A splits. So, and they are very efficient at it, Vince. They're a really well-orchestrated team, as we already saw quite a lot on split. They also have a couple of B burst plays they can put into effect with their Omen smokes and breach flashes. So, or just rather Omen smokes, no breach on Renegades this time around, but the point is that they can definitely keep threatening Cloud9. Cloud9 cannot feel comfortable yet.
That's absolutely true. Cloud9 will not feel comfortable until they get probably 7 or 8 rounds, I'd imagine, and that's if Renegades don't continue to accelerate towards the finish line. So there's a long battle and a long road ahead of C9 before they can start to lose a bit of focus. And there's Shinobi up close with the Spectre, getting the upper hand onto Winsome. That's a huge pick, and he could actually...
Wow, that was just crazy timing.
Trades up.
The drone had come all the way through and had just not quite gotten to where Shinobi was located. And so Winsome thought that it was clear and just came around into Shinobi, who had waiting arms. So a good initial bit of map control, but they lost it right away to Shinobi, and that forces them to backpedal. And now they don't really have much at all. They're still kind of just sitting in the back of middle. They do have B lobby with their Cypher. That's going to be Randy here, just watching to see if anyone's going to rotate through market, which Mitch is in that position. They've chipped away at a couple of players as well, to be fair. Like, Tint is a little bit low on health, so I mean, there might still be a way in, but it's going to be a tougher call now.
An upgraded gun can now be used against Renegades, who only have 17 seconds to make a decision. They're making moves around B. Now getting up close. Fergie, one-on-one, gets traded out. But at least they avenge their fallen teammates. The satchel charge out. CP2 misses his chance. Gets punished. And even though the spike has gone down, with 4 players remaining on Cloud9, it's looking good for a retake. Randy Savage, though, takes the head off of Tens, looking to eviscerate the oncoming Cloud9 players who are looking to pillage and sack the site once more. Playing on both sides, both the claustrophobic angle simultaneously. Satchel charge goes in, Retro holds his nerve, as does Mitch. Successful retake, but it's another very close one.
Sure. Definitely there were some chances there for Renegades to perhaps pull that off if they could have won a key duel or two. But just, good on Shinobi to put a stop to Winsome early, get that man advantage. Really deny Renegades any access to mid-control, and then just played the retake well on B. But the fact that these rounds are coming so labored really makes you feel like Renegades are still putting that pressure on. And while Cloud9's making a great little comeback here, Renegades are still threatening that 2-0 possibility. This round, though, they will have to do more with less. And it's a good opportunity for Cloud9 to keep closing that gap. It's going to be a B burst play coming out of Renegades this round. They don't have the flashes on a breach to really help them, though. That's the big thing that they're missing on this attack, but it may not matter. It's a great Sheriff kill on the Tens.
That's a nutty frag, but Retro has been instantly capitalized on. So that's the Blade Storm that's taken with him. It gets nullified, and that was a big part of this push. And with his loss of life, it's unlikely too much will follow. I say that as 2 kills come back, but then Relics seals the deal. Cloud9 get a 6th, but Renegades, they can dip back in with another buy.
Yeah, this is just tough because when you're running a comp that has Jet and Raze, which are really able to close distance with the Tailwind and the Blast Packs, you normally want to have some type of traditional flash to go with it, whether that's a Phoenix Curveball or whether that's, you know, Flashpoint from Breach. It makes it a lot harder for you to take space. Like, basically, yeah, you can still smoke Market and you can still smoke Spawn Hall, but then you basically just have to rely on Raze, like, paint shelling the ramp corner towards the back and then kind of using that to funnel people into B site and then just running up short and trying to take duels. You don't really have as much utility to limit vision and give yourself an easier time when you start taking fights. It's one of the things that is a little bit of a shortcoming in this composition, but they can still, as long as they frag heavy and work together with their spacing and trading efficiency, they can still make things happen using the Omen smokes to isolate angles. But we'll have to see if they can figure it out, or if Cloud9 can keep this comeback rolling. They're again denying access to Tree early here.
Although some access has been denied, others are granted as they look to push through middle. Market open for a bit of business, and Mitch with the fast peek can actually back away and allow the rest of his teammates now to lend him a helping hand, and Vice will do just that. It's only the 1 kill that goes his way. And now Mitch is up close, is getting tagged, is being fragged down. Bergie, though, gets caught by Shinobi, who pushes his own dark cover, completely catching Bergie off guard. And now with 40 seconds, the spike is beginning to get planted. It's up close, but CP2 won't get it done. Winsome gets a kill from the grave, but it doesn't really matter because Cloud9 continue to string rounds together. That's 5 in a row now.
Yeah, they burnt a few ults to do it, though. I think Relics burnt the Showstopper, and I don't even think he got a kill with it or anything like that. It didn't even really seem required in the end, and obviously Mitch threw his lockdown in as well, so it's only 10s with the Blade Storm. Meanwhile, there's 3 ults available for Renegades. They're still in the lead. And they will actually put some, you know, money behind this. They're going to get a couple Stingers, a Spectre, a Bulldog. Again, they have several ults they can put into play. Obviously, Rainy Savage needs to kill or a body to get the neural theft off, but otherwise, this could be interesting.
Okay.
Being brought around the corner instantly, getting destroyed, and there's a paint shell behind it. Some aggression. Renegades mixing the pace up and getting 2 kills, and this, one of their worst buys. Full of SMGs, Stingers and Spectres across the board, post-plant comes in. This is always the downside when you trail by this many rounds, even if it's flawless. If you slip and slide, that could be good enough to let your opposition in. And Renegades have been waiting for that chance. They've struck. And although the Blade Storm in play, and maybe 10s can put some of these to heads and try and clutch this one out. There we go. There's the first. And now he can use those cloud bursts and try and play the mind games. No one's home at the back of the site. They're all more centralized on B main, and this may actually work against Renegades. They're all together, and now 10s can go back in again, but the bomb is planted for them. 10s is speculatively firing all those across, and then Winsome, who still has the showstopper, puts it through the dark cover onto the site, and that could be good enough to yield the round. It's Valiant from Cloud9 in the dying embers of the round, but the spike will detonate, and Renegades move 1 step closer.
I tend to agree that everyone playing towards A lobby can be risky, but you must understand the context of Renegades making that call. They had a Hunter's Fury and they had the Showstopper. So even if they got chain smoked out of peeking through the archway, they had multiple options to stall the defuse on the spike. They didn't even have to put the Hunter's Fury in the play, though. They still have it on CP2 for later, so that could help them out in another post plant, perhaps down the line. So well thought out risk, you know, was a calculated one, and it worked out just fine as now they've built their lead up another round, and now they have 4 rifles ahead of them. Going in again, Vince, and they're going fast.
Still have that Hunter's Fury. Winsome in amongst all the cloud bursts is coming out with frags alongside Shinobi, who gets 2 of his own. Renegades 2v3, faking the spike, trying to draw out one of those Cloud9 players into the open, but there are flashes coming in from the shadows. Has been popped to the other side of the map. It's on B, and Sova's still alive. This is winnable for Renegades. Cloud9 in trouble. Post-plant, does Bergie take the aggression? He does, and he puts out the head of Relics. And with that kill, he can now move back into market, change up his angles. He goes down to the hand of Mitch. A Hunter's Fury still available, is now being popped, tries to stall it for as long as possible, anticipating a play is forthcoming as they stick onto the spike. The shots will not connect, and Cloud9 with a successful defuse.
Yeah, it was a good thought to combine the From the Shadows and Hunter's Fury there to transition quickly to B, but I think that after Berkey got that first kill towards spawn halls, he needed to stay alive inside the market. If he stays alive, he gives a little bit more breathing room for CP2 to use the Hunter's Fury a bit more safely. But you saw there when he got forced in the 1v2, when he got one shot off, he knew that he could get pressed, and so he had to kind of throw it away. I think if Berkey just plays more passive inside the market there, it would have worked out better, but I guess he didn't realize that both of them were already committed to the side. Maybe he thought that one was going to backstab him through middle. So it's always tough to call in those clutch moments and when the blood's flowing and things are tense and you're getting stressed out, but that was a little bit of a fumble right at the finish line that could have put them at series point. Either way, they're still out in front. They do have the eco here, though, and Relics is going to already find first blood in this round.
There.
Man, no real chance at any retaliation up until the moment that Retro puts a bullet in the head of Shinobi. Relics goes back in for more, and he gets traded out, but at least Mitch holds on for one. So he maintains Cloud9 a player to the good, and keep in mind, additionally, one of the two remaining Renegades is incredibly low, and TenZ goes in aggressively looking to finish it off with the classic, and indeed he shall. So Cloud9, we were saying before about how Renegades wouldn't be too bothered or flustered. We've got to that point now where they're looking over their shoulder, and they're seeing Cloud9 picking up pace.
Indeed they are. They have won every round this half except for that one. So, I mean, it has been the Cloud9 show here defensively.
Here.
As we are going to be seeing Renegades set up over towards A with a lot of players, and they could be either looking for mid control with Omen lurking A, or they could be looking for the A burst. They like to have Omen smoke door in heaven, and then just kind of fly in with the jet dash and just get into that A side. We've seen them do it already a couple of times, but I think this time they're going to focus more on just kind of splitting. They have no presence B lobby, though. It's all going to be funneled here towards A and mid. I do have a trap wire at least in place to make sure they aren't going to get flanked. Shinobi making sure the door will never come into play this round. It's a good idea. Means they never have to worry about if a retake happens, having to break that.
He's lost his head, though. Worthwhile trade. Rolling Thunder. Proceeding to push. Retro gets hit by it, but Berkey gets the damage done onto Relics. Business open on the A side of the map, and all three of Cloud9 clumped together on the rafters. Dark cover in their eyes. Cage has also been popped just behind it. This is going to be a very difficult retake.
The thing is that Rolling Thunder didn't do jack diddly squat for Cloud9, really. It stalled the plant, I guess, a little bit, but it's not here now, and they need it most to retake at a numbers disadvantage. And now they're well and truly screwed. I think this is going to series point. I don't know how they pulled this off in a 3-on-5.
They're trying to dam this, though, Dust. They're going in for it now. They're going in for the defuse in a smoke, but it's been denied, as are the rest of Cloud9. A flawless round, Cloud9 on the brink of collapse, on the brink of defeat.
Yeah, just so well done to get Shinobi down early there at the door. They also were able to get their drone into tree and get intel on that first rotator and just trade so efficiently as they've done time and time again throughout this series. Again, Winsome having a huge game, up to 21 kills. He had top kills in the last map as well, I believe, or he certainly did at least in regulation. He's had great help as well from Retro and Randy. They have been putting in the yards as well, and they are one away from pulling off a massive upset, Vince. This could be it now. This could be massive.
This is for all the chips, all the marbles, the potential huge upsets on the cards, but not if TenZ and Shinobi have something to say about it. Randy Savage in with one, make it two, and Cloud9 are being dispersed post-haste. A cage triggered on top of the rafters allows Randy Savage the opportunity for the spike plant. And now Cloud9 have got to battle back somehow, some way. Make this work. It's an even trade. Vice and Berkey both chip in for frags, but now Relics, a man that was destructive on split, has got to try and clutch this one out. Two very separate angles to deal with. The isolation may not work for him, but the showstopper comes into play. Looking around Cubby, he's desperate for information, checking everywhere but where CP2 resides, and the headshot connects, and Renegade successful.
You thought Relics might get that one. He had the showstopper in a 1v1. He just never could get vision on the target. He didn't want to waste the rocket. He wanted to make sure that it was going the right direction. But in that chase, in that hunt for intel, he was found out as his team was all throughout this series. That was amazing from Renegades. They played so well. There's so many brilliant moments as we bring Yinsu in to kind of help us break that down. I mean, think about it. Think about the Jet v Jet battle that happened when Tens was trying to retake over on B side. Think about just all the clutch moments that Renegades seem to always come on top of. It was unreal. Like, they handled small number situations so well.
Honestly, I was speechless in so many situations there. You know, at one point, I thought Cloud9 could claw this back. We've seen them do that before, but they ended their 10-game win streak. As I said before the show, that, you know, streaks are made to be broken, and Renegades came and just sort of dominated them and completely broke them. We've got some replay now to show you guys for that great match. You know, I also want to say congratulations to them. But yeah, you guys, you know what, rewatching this, like, what are your immediate thoughts on this upset? Huge upset.
Shocked. I mean, I kind of saw it as a possibility on Split just based on how Renegades have been playing that map lately, and we just saw them win TS. That was insane right there. That, I feel like that was like the money moment that really sold me on Renegades winning this whole series, was basically just shutting down any last hopes at Cloud9 having a good attacking half there. Yeah, Ascent I thought would go Cloud9's way, hand on heart, you know, just based on the track records of both these teams, just based on what we normally see. It's crazy to see Renegades tear it up that way. Well done. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Vince, anything to add? I mean, this is not something that any of us expected, right, going into this game, and it's really gone Renegade's way.
Absolutely didn't expect this. I thought, you know, if Renegades win it, it goes to a third map. You know, I thought Ascent is almost guaranteed ironclad going to go against them, and yet here we stand. It's 2-0. I mean, I can't quite believe what I've just witnessed, if I'm being honest. I'm kind of a bit speechless. Yeah. I feel like we've just witnessed like one of the biggest upsets in recent memory, and it's been an incredible experience.
I said this yesterday, you know, during that Cloud9, I think 100 Thieves game, that you don't beat Cloud9. Cloud9 beat you. You know, you don't 2-0 them. They're the ones that 2-0 everyone else. So it's huge props to Renegades. And Dust, you know, if I had told you this a week ago, that Renegades would be the first team in North America to make it to that first strike main event, would you have believed me?
Of course not. And look, no sensible person out there would have either, unless you're like the biggest Renegades fanboy on the planet. There's no way you thought that they were toppling Cloud9 to get in first. I'm sorry. Like, there's no, like, if you actually sat there and like studied the game, truly went back and watched VODs and looked at results and stats and stuff, there's nothing objectively that would have pointed you in this direction. But that's what makes it so great. That's what makes it so fun to cover as a person who likes to study the game in their own right, is to have the odds blown up, you know, just to see someone make improvement happen right before your eyes. This is the moment where now people have to start Renegade seriously. They're a good team.
You know, just before we move on to our next game, Vince, I wanted to get your thoughts on Cloud9. What does this mean for them as well? Is this a big setback?
I think it is. It's maybe a bit of a reality check, you know, and maybe you can go back to the drawing board and learn a lot. You know, when you're winning a lot of games, maybe you're not taking on board as many of the issues, and you're not really looking at them as much. When you lose, you're kind of forced to check them out. You're kind of forced after an upset loss like this to go back to the drawing board, and hopefully they come back stronger. Hopefully they take it positively and they don't get too down about it.
Well, they will have another chance next week, and the great news is that this is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the quarterfinals and semifinals tonight. We're going to take a little break now, but don't go anywhere, because Complexity will be 10 after this.